Okay, welcome back. This is going to be a video that's just going to cover a few issues I've been seeing via your emails, and then I'm just going to show you one more time how to do a build just to make sure everyone is building. So the first issue is the camera. So if you've done it like in the project that I've got here, then it's just the camera. And if you look at the transform, you'll see that there's a negative value in the camera. The reason for that is if I go out of 2D mode in my viewport here, the camera needs to be away so that it has everything visible inside of here. So most of your cameras, the problem probably is that it is something like this, and then you say that you can't see anything in your camera. That's because you're forcing your camera to go to where the player is. That includes moving it in the Z axis. So if you are doing it like the way we've done before, where you have a empty like a camera base, so let's call this camera base. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure the camera base is where the character is. So I'm just going to, the camera is at 0, 0, the player is at 0, 0, 0. So I'm going to make sure that camera base is, and then all I'm going to do is parent the camera to the camera base, and then I can, wherever I move the camera base, that's fine, because what's being driven by the movement of the player is the camera base is being driven by the player. So wherever the player goes, the camera base will go, but the camera itself can be repositioned. So just make sure that even though you've done the empty game object with the camera underneath, make sure the camera and the camera base aren't in exactly the same place, because then this is what you'll get. You'll have this camera that can't see anything because it's too close. So as I pull it back, you'll see that I'm seeing more and more, and if I pull it up, I'll be able to see more. So it doesn't even have to go as far as back, especially if you're using an orthographic camera. It can even be -1 unit because it's reading the information really close. Okay, so that was the first issue. The next one is looking for the ground. Again, remember you need to have, in both cases I'm using both the tag and the layer to check for stuff. So I've tagged the ground as ground. I'm going to remove this, apologies, that was for another student. So on the ground we're simply checking, there's the ground, we're checking to see if the character is going in the negative velocity, which means he's falling down, and then we're checking to see, we're adding force downwards so that he falls a little faster. You don't have to do this, it's just something I've done. And if grounded is false, which means that he's in the air, we're going to raycast down and we're going to raycast for ground. If that comes back as true, I set the bool grounded to be true, which means I can jump again. I also make sure that I set the bool of grounded in the animator as true. And I also set my jump count and my wall jumping values back to normal. Now, if you're wondering where this file is, this is the one that I shared with you on Classroom. This is where we've done everything from the wall jumping to the double jumping. If I remember correctly, I've also done the ranged weapon attacks, ammo pickup, dash input, all of that. So all of this stuff, your normal dash, your Celeste dash for that student who asked for it. So all of it is here. So just look for it and you can see where you might be going wrong. But those issues being covered, I'm now just going to pull this out because my camera works completely different to that. Okay, so remember what we have. If I play it here just to show you what it's going to look like, we're going to do a quick build. So character moves, pick up the ammo pickup, I can shoot, I can switch weapons. So all of that is working. Now let's say I'm finalized and I'm happy with what I have, and now I need to do a build. So remember, you need to go to File, Build Settings, and in the build setting here you need to add the scene. So I normally like to clear this out, and I like to go to my scenes folder and in order. So I always like to put my menu in at the top first. I like to drag my, so if I had, let's just duplicate this and call this menu. Let's say I had 2 of these. I'd normally like to drag my menu in first, and then I like to drag my level in second. So I'm going to rename this to level 01. Let's try that again. Level 01, reload. And there we go. So now I've got these 2. Now for this case, I will require a normal standard PC, Mac, and Linux build. And over here, you want to make it a Windows build. It makes no difference whether it's Windows 32 or Windows 64. So I just normally leave it as 32 and 64 so that it can work on both platforms. And once you do that, you just click a build and run because you want to make sure what you've built is tested. And the best way for me to figure out where I've put something is I normally like to just put it on the desktop. I like to create a new folder. Let's call this character controller build. Okay, so I create a folder, I select that folder, and I just let it build. When it's built, once it's done building, it will open up where the build has happened, and you will be able to test the build. Remember to test your builds. Remember to make a video of your playthrough so that if I don't get a chance or there's something wrong with your build, at least I have a video that I can take a look at. I want this to be submitted. Please do not submit the entire project, just the build folder, and I'll show you what that looks like now. Okay, so the build is pretty much done. So we're now going to open up the folder, and it's also going to run it. So now it's running the build. There's my build. It works. There we go. I can check all my systems are working. There we go. Double jump. Okay, so everything works. So now what happens is I put it directly onto the desktop. So I'm just going to navigate to the desktop, and over here you'll see that there is a character controller build. If you go inside of that, I want you to right click on the folder you just created for the build, and I want you to either use WinZip, WinRAR, or just if you don't have either one of those, just go to the send to and say compress zipped folder. I want you to zip that entire folder, and then you can just upload that zip file. Now if I go into this build folder, the reason I need all of this is you can't submit just the executable. It will not work because the executable requires both this mono and this game design data folder, and the Unity player.dll needs all of this information for it to work. If you just submit that, it's not going to work. So please, so that's the reason I told you just to zip that entire folder, is because everything's in there. It'll work. So if I open up the zip file, you'll see that I've got the folder, and inside this folder I've got all the required files. So that is how you do a build. So please just build it that way, and everything should be fine. So good luck for your submission, and I hope you all do well.